me X Canadiensis, and today's video is going to be about the most expensive dolls in my collection. I'm specifically referring to how much I spent on them because, to be honest, I would not be able to answer if you asked me what the most valuable were. I'd have to consult the audience because I actually have no idea. The reason I'm doing this video is because it was requested, but also because it was requested so much, and I understand why people want it. I wanted to talk about why this wasn't a video that I particularly wanted to do, and my thoughts about money in terms of doll collecting. I've done a couple of videos about budgeting for doll collecting and how I kind of value my dolls. I've mentioned that a little bit, but I'd like to do this just video right here and now to explain it because this question gets asked a lot. I understand why it's being asked. I think it's fun to see what dolls people value more than others, and generally if you spend more on something you want it more, you know? For me that's not really true, but you know, generally it's true. So I am going to give you what you asked for. This is going to be a just chatting video, so I'm just kind of gonna talk to the camera, to be honest. Like, it's gonna be all over the place if you've never seen one of these videos from me. I actually haven't done one in a minute. Sometimes I forget this is an option for a video where I could just talk about my thoughts on things, and there's several that I want to do. So if you guys, my current audience that's here now, actually like these videos, please let me know. Just like doll collector perspective talking or whatever. So first, here's what you asked for. Here's my most expensive dolls. Alright guys, so for this part of the video we're going to go into what the most expensive dolls from each of my little collections are. For Winx, I'm pretty sure, well, I spent $300 on that Gold Believe Bloom, and then this doll I spent $150. I'm pretty sure that's the most expensive Winx doll by quite a bit actually in my collection. Obviously her, and then the prototypes, but we're going to talk about those later, so don't worry about them. If we move on over here to my anime dolls, she's prominently featured in the video, but this Homura doll, which we'll look into her later, I spent $800 on her. This is my most expensive 12-inch doll, or like 1/6 scale doll. I spent $210 on her. Well, her and Queen Eleanor and the blue dress Merida doll, who you can see back there, I spent $240 on, or like around $400 for both of them, so you know, like 200-ish each. And her I spent like $210 I think on her. And then if we move up here, Cinderella was a gift, but she was around $300, so you could consider her one of the more expensive ones in my collection. On this shelf, all of these were gifts or bought for retail. Well, okay, bought for retail, a few were gifts, I should say. All of these are thrift or retail, other than the limited edition, but those are different. Limited edition dolls, which is everything you see here, were $100 each, $140 each, some exceptions. Here, bought at retail were gifts. A few gifts, mostly bought at retail. Bratz, all Bratz dolls that I have, I spent $10 to $15 each. And then a few, like her, were $20 each. And then Celebration Yasmin, I think I spent $25 on. But Bratz I only really buy in lots. And a few were gifts, of course. Mycene, excuse that, my riser broke, so they keep falling over. But the most expensive Mycene dolls that I've bought were her, and they were around $70 to $80 each. So the My Bling Bling dolls. And then my Juicy Bling Chelsea was $70, I think. She was $60, the Icy Bling Barbie. And then the rest were pretty fair. Like, they were $10 each to $40 each for the rest of them. And then Monster High, I can't say that I've bought a single one above retail. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I don't think that I have. And then, of course, with collections like LOL, OMG, and Rainbow High, they were all bought for retail. Yeah. Oh, if we go down to Barbie, I don't think any of these were particularly expensive. Most of these are like childhood or something. I think the most expensive of the Barbaras that I've purchased would be, oh, those new in box ones I spent $50? No, they were actually like $30 each for those new in box ones, so it's actually not that much. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I did a video on them. Maybe it was $40 to $50 each. I believe I spent $150 and I had 5 of them, so that's actually $30 each, whatever. Oh, and this is actually, I think, her hair's a little messy, sorry. I think she was like $40. Yeah, so when people ask me this question, I don't really have a good answer because I haven't really spent that much on most of my dolls. Anyway, now it's time for the video. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the actual purpose of this video for me, which is to talk about it. I want to get out of the way right now a very huge distinction with how I view my collection. The prototypes and stuff are more of a historical archival collection, whereas the dolls are more of like a living collection. And a living collection to me is something that I'm, you know, playing with, posing, putting like out on the shelves. While the prototypes I'm doing the same thing with, kind of, but they are something that I want to get a hold of and conserve them, preserve them, and release information about them. Just because as a collector, I really like when private collectors get a hold of prototypes and share with me because I want to see them, so it's a really big honor to do that, and a lot of it is also to get information, to talk to the people involved in making the dolls. So the amount of money that I spent on the prototypes, I am going to tell you because it wasn't in the sizzle reel. It's more than I would ever spend on any other doll, with no exceptions. I've spent $3,500 on the prototypes, not including the ones that I got from China, the 2 Pop Pixie in box. I think those were like $60, so doesn't, like $3,600, I guess. I've spent $3,600 on the prototypes, and to me that was completely justified. Like, I have no regrets, I have no complaints about that price. I'm very happy with everything that I have. I've seen people speculate about that before. I don't really know why. If someone asked, I probably would have just told them, but whatever. Anyways, let's get into it. So I want to make a big disclaimer at the beginning of this video because I talk really fast, and in my head, just like everybody else's head, when I say something, it's coming out with the infinite context in my brain, but you don't have all that. So I want to say right now that absolutely no statement in this video is meant to say that anybody else's point of view is wrong, or that you're wrong or crazy or whatever for not seeing things the same way that I do. I just want to make that abundantly clear. I just wanted to talk about this from my perspective because it's being asked of me on my channel, and I can only really speak on myself. So if I ever hyperbolically say like, oh, that price is crazy, I'm saying that from my perspective, considering what I like to spend on things or what I value things at, that's a crazy price. I hope that makes sense, because you're probably going to think a lot of the prices that I've spent on things are crazy. Like, when I spent $60 on a My Scene poster, a lot of people thought that was absolutely insane, but to me that was a steal. That was the score of a lifetime, you know? So I want to get that out of the way. So the first thing I want to say that I think is very important is that the way I collect dolls, almost every single one is like intrinsically worth the same to me. Intrinsic worth is very different than the extrinsic worth. I'm making up these terms for this, I believe, but the intrinsic worth, when I say that, is what it's worth to me, what it brings to the table for me. And that's very different from the extrinsic worth, which is how much I have to spend to bring it into my life, or how much it's objectively worth to other people, how much I could sell it for on eBay right now. Like, if I were to sell any of my dolls on eBay right now, they would be worth a lot more than I would be willing to spend on them. And I know that. And I mainly collect dolls secondhand. I really, really like the treasure hunt of getting a good deal, so don't be discouraged by the fact that a lot of the rare dolls in my collection are not featured in this video. That just means I got a good deal. There's a lot of good deals out there. I collect mass market playline dolls, and that's why I'm distinguishing them from the prototypes. Prototypes are very different because they're historical pieces, and I value them extremely differently than I do from normal dolls, but once the prototypes are in my life, I'm kind of valuing them the same as the other dolls, to be honest. Other than the fact that, like, it feels so, like, it's such an honor to have them, but I like to pop them on the shelf with all the other dolls and be able to see them with the others, because that's really cool to me, because they never got a chance to become mass market dolls like they were supposed to. So it's really, really a huge honor, like the video that I did the other day, making Color Splash Music happen. That's a big deal to me. That feels so, like, amazing, and that's, like, a really cool opportunity, and I'm so grateful. For starters, I view money a little bit differently than other people, I believe. To me, money is an obstacle. It's kind of annoying. I don't like that I have to spend money to get the dolls in my life, but I know that I do. So, if you remember this summer, I worked 3 jobs, maybe 4 if you count YouTube. I was working 4 jobs at the time. You should count YouTube as a job. I was told, like, get a real job at the time, and I thought that was really funny because I was actively working 2 real jobs, and YouTube was making more than those, but whatever. Anyways, I will work jobs and work extra hours and sell things and make things and do whatever I need to do to be able to, sorry, I'm rocking the table a little bit, so I'm gonna move it, to be able to afford the dolls in my collection. So just know that I'm not ringing up and getting daddy's money or something. My daddy doesn't have money, but you know what I mean. Like, and sometimes I do get help from my family members, and a lot of things are gifts in my collection, and I don't take that for granted. But what I'm saying is, like, if I spend a lot of money on a doll, it's because I worked really hard to get that money. And to me, for example, I have $100. I am viewing that as, what can I get with this? And this is 100 free money, spending money, you know, like, you're handed $100 as a 12-year-old, you're not thinking about saving it, you know. Or you could be, like, that's fine. But, you know, you're handed $100, no strings attached, you can spend it on whatever you want, and you're not going to feel bad about it. It's just, what do you want for this $100? I'm not going to buy one $100 doll. I'm just not going to do it. It is very rare that I will do something like that. If you pay attention, I most of the time will tell you how much I spend on a doll. It is extremely rare that a doll that I buy is $100, and when it is, it's because I had to spend that much. Like with these. So you're handed $100 and you're just told, like, have at it. I'm trying to get, like, stretch that $100 to be the most dolls as possible, and it's not necessarily, like, I'll buy a bunch of, like, grimy dolls that I don't want, but, you know, like, if I can get a Monster High doll lot for $40 that has, like, 20 dolls that are all pretty decent, and I can sell some of them, and the rest I can keep, and they're beautiful, and I needed them for my collection. That's the ideal. That's what I'm going for most of the time with my collection. I want to buy lots. I'm getting to the point now where a lot of my collections are so big that lots aren't as feasible, so I'm starting to have to spend a little bit more, and I'm working more. I'm more of an adult. I'm about to go off and work my career and get paid a salary. I'll be able to afford more over time, but even with this in mind, I've still been spending around the same amount per doll. It's gone up a little bit. But the reason it's gone up a little bit is actually because Rainbow High. It's actually because retail dolls have been getting better, so I've been buying them retail instead of buying them secondhand. To me, dolls are worth retail. All of them. Across the board. You'll see me say in a video, for example, with these, where I was like, well, I spent $80 and that's a lot. But it's not really a lot. I brought her over here because even though $80 is not even close to the most that I've spent on a doll in my collection, I wanted to put it into perspective. Like, to me, this was a lot of money, but because I got her brand new in box, that was a steal. This was a really good price for this doll. Because getting her new in box, to me, just meant getting her complete out of box. And because I'm an out-of-box collector, I don't value new in-box dolls more. I'm going to open them. I don't care that they're in box. But she would be complete. And I really wanted all of my Bling Bling dolls to be complete. Because they're like nostalgic to me, and I really wanted them complete. You know, I liked all the pieces. It was very important to me that I got them all complete. So I bought her and Miss Barbara Millicent Roberts here for, I think, like $160. It was around there. It was $140, $160, something in that range. So they were like $70 to $80 each. I haven't regretted it a day. This was a childhood doll, so I really wanted to bring her back into my collection, and it was very important to me that she had some key pieces, and she was always missing them secondhand, so I was caving in and getting one in box. That's what I was searching for. And then she happened to be from the same seller, and that makes it cheaper because you get to bundle the shipping, so it just worked out in my favor, and I haven't regretted it. It's not that I'll ever regret spending more on a doll. It's very rare that I actually, like, actively regret it and resent the doll because of it. It's more that if I spend more, it means that you know, that money can't go towards something else. And I like having more dolls. I don't necessarily want to spend more on a single doll because there are, of course, dolls that I want more. I could list out my entire wish list right now of, like, the dolls that I want the most, and I probably won't get those dolls within the next 2 years just because a good deal didn't come up, or they weren't in a lot that I bought, or something like that. But to me, like, the top of my wish list isn't the doll that I'm actively seeking. I'm actively seeking whatever I'm getting a deal on, so I never, ever, ever search Monster High, Toralei, Glowsome Ghoulfish doll. That's the only Toralei doll I need in my collection. It is driving me crazy. I really want that doll, but I never, ever, ever search that. I just search Monster High. If that doll comes up for a good deal and I can get her, woo! Yay, I really wanted her. But otherwise, like, maybe I'll just get, like, a Coffin Bean Abby for a good price. Like, I'll see her and I'll be like, oh, $10 sold. Almost did that earlier. There's a Coffin Bean Abby on Recovery for a good price, but not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I don't like to buy single dolls online generally unless it's, like, a top of the wish list, like, absolute must have, because, like, you know. Oh, I wanted to go into a bit of a case. Oh, the reason I don't like to buy singular dolls, sorry. You don't know. I said you know, because in my head I do know. It's because the shipping. So a $10 doll I would buy in a heartbeat from a store, but with the shipping it's gonna be like a $20 doll, and then it's like, you know, it gets expensive. Anyway. I'm just dancing now, sorry. I wanted to get into rarity and how it affects the dolls, because that is intrinsically linked to actual value. Not actual value, sorry. Extrinsic value, the value that you have to spend to get the doll in your collection. Not have to, but you might have to spend, or if you want the doll today, you'd have to spend that much, you know? And I'm willing to wait. I'm very much the mantra, good things to those who wait, you know, like, I do not mind. If I have to wait 5 years, but I get it for way cheaper, that's totally fine to me. Which, often that's kind of funny, because, like, is 5 years of my time and effort looking for this doll worth saving, like, $20? Probably not, but again, a very important thing to me in doll collecting is the treasure hunt and finding a good deal, so I don't really mind. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about rarity. Oh, I already introduced this part, sorry. My inner monologue is so much faster than my mouth could move, even though I talk really fast, so sometimes I won't say something that I intend to say, sorry. Alright, so now I wanted to get into this little case study. So this is specifically referring to the Glam Magic dolls by Mattel. I have 5 out of the 6. These dolls are very coveted, and I understand why. They're very different than other dolls. They're very delicate. They're rarer, so people do like want things because they're rarer and they're nostalgic. To me personally, I believe that they're not actually as rare as people think they are. They were mass market retail dolls. They clearanced out absolutely everywhere, especially the rare characters like Tekna and Musa, but whatever. Anyway, I really want to have the full set. I really do. I had 4 out of the, okay, so I got my first ones in 2017 when I graduated from high school and got my associate's degree. My mom got me Bloom and Aisha as graduation presents. They were $45 each. 2 years later, I bought Stella and Flora for $60 each. Incomplete, in kind of rough shape, but, like, I felt like I could fix them and get those extra pieces. Still haven't, but, you know, maybe someday. And then I bought Tekna recently for $150, and to me, those dolls are worth around $60 each. Like, I truly think they're incredible, so I would spend $60 if they were brand new on store shelves. That's kind of how I value dolls. I've made videos about this before, but what would I spend if it was right in front of me at Walmart? Like, what would I spend? I will not spend over that normally. Tekna was the exception, though. Tekna's my favorite. Her Enchantix is amazing. I cosplayed her, too, and I only needed 1 Enchantix Tekna doll to complete my Enchantix Tekna doll collection. Like, I have them all now. So I was willing to spend more. And she came up, and I was able to get her for a good price. Excuse me, my throat. I was able to get her for what I consider to be a good price, especially considering the prices for the other ones. Did I want to spend $150 on her? No, but sometimes, like, you have to, so you just, like, suck it up and do it. And judging by the trajectory of these dolls, that was the only good deal I was going to find in a long time, and she was missing a lot of stuff. She's broken. She's not in good condition, like, at all, but I was like, you gotta do what you gotta do. I really want that doll. I don't think I'm ever gonna find her cheaper, so I bit the bullet and caved in, and I don't regret it at all. That's one of those ones, actually. Normally with an expensive doll, I'll kind of feel a tinge of regret. I don't regret a single doll in my collection, but, you know, sometimes you'll feel like, in the moment, like, maybe I shouldn't have spent that. Like, I don't have that much money right now. But for her, I didn't really feel that at all. But anyway, Musa, on the other hand, last one I remember selling in an auction went for $1,800. I'm not going to spend $1,800 on her. That's the amount I spent on, like, 4 complete doll prototypes and then a bunch of other archival pieces. Like, for me, she's absolutely not worth that much, because almost every single doll in my collection, except the ones that end up being my favorites, which is entirely unrelated to their price, intrinsically, she is not worth any more than any other doll in my collection. I might really like her when I get her. Maybe she'll end up being a favorite. I don't know. Normally, I don't like to judge if something's going to be my favorite just by looking at it online, because it's going to be very different when I have the doll in front of me. But, like, I don't really covet her that much. Like, I don't want her that much, so it's annoying. Like, I would actually spend $300. If someone offered her to me right now, nearly complete for $300, I would actually do it. Just because I really want the doll in my collection. I don't think I'm going to find her any cheaper anytime soon, and that would make me happy to have her. But it would be begrudgingly, because she's not worth $300 to me. Like, she's not worth any more than the others, which is around $60. I would probably happily spend $150. Like, I don't even think I'd bat an eye if I got her for $150. But, you know, like, she's not intrinsically worth more to me. It's just kind of annoying that I have to spend more. I hope that makes sense. A fantastic example of this in my actual doll collection is right here. If you guys remember when I got this doll, this video was kind of like a blunder. Like, I was very disappointed. The doll came what I thought was broken, but it turns out it's just a really stupid oversight in the actual creation of the doll. So, but this was the most excited I'd ever been for a doll. For context, this is the hybrid active figure of Homura Kemi from Madoka Magica, the Rebellion story, which is... Madoka Magica is my all-time favorite anime, and this is my all-time favorite character in any media, so I was completely desperate for this doll. I've never had a BJD. This is like a mass-market BJD, so the closest you can get to a BJD that's not a BJD, I think, but some people would consider her one, doesn't matter. I spent like $700 on her, but I think with shipping it got closer to $800. I don't 100% recall, but I remember it's around $800. At the time, okay, so this was my all-time holy grail. We need to start there. I started collecting dolls in 2011, and this doll, I think, was revealed in like 2014, and ever since the moment I laid eyes on her, she was like my ultimate all-time favorite, like holy grail. I will, like, on my wedding day, I'll unbox this doll, you know, like, it was like that. Like, it'll be a big milestone in my life when I get her, and a lot of things just went right all at once. I was working a bunch of jobs, and I was getting a lot of money, and I wasn't spending as much as usual, and I sold a bunch of stuff, and I was just in this perfect financial space where I could afford her, so I bought her, and it felt so amazing. What happened was, there was one up for auction, and she was at around $300 when I discovered her, and, you know, I'd search occasionally on Japanese auction sites, and I never found her for sale. Like, I'd find her at like a buy it now for like $1,000 sometimes, but she was never for sale. So when I saw that auction, my jaw was on the floor. I watched the auction. I messed up when I wrote down when it ended, so I woke up like 2 hours after it ended, and she ended for $500. When I tell you I was gutted, because this doll is worth extrinsically, like if you look on eBay, she'll sell for like $900 to $1,500. She's extremely limited, by the way. This is like an extreme limited edition doll. My heart broke. $500. She was used, but she was perfect. She had everything. I was like, you know when you miss something and you're like, that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, like it's not gonna happen again. Yeah. So that very same day, I was trying to compensate. I was like, it's not one, like, I'll find another one, like, don't worry, don't freak out. And I found another one on Mercari for like $650 probably, but with fees and shipping, she ended up being closer to like $750, you know. I remember this shipping was $60 from Japan. I shipped her express in her own little box, or huge box, she's huge. But I also had to pay like fees. I used a different website than usual, so it was very different because Mercari. You can't use Mercari with my normal proxy that I use, doesn't matter. Anyway. She did end up being slightly disappointing to me because the wings are completely designed poorly. I did find out from other people who own this doll that they didn't design the wings correctly, so they literally cannot go on her. But regardless, like, I'm so happy to have her. She was my ultimate holy grail. I walk into this room and see her and I'm just like, oh my god. Like, I adore this doll. She's gonna be one of my all-time favorite dolls forever, and I'm always gonna really, really value, like, how hard I had to work to get her, and I really, really am so grateful and lucky to have her. But she's not worth, let's say because I spent $80 on this doll, she's not worth 10 of these to me. If I could get 10 dolls at this level, I would have absolutely bought those in a heartbeat over this doll. And that's not to say that, like, I don't like this doll, because I really do. Again, like, please don't take this the wrong way, because I really, truly love this doll, and I'm so grateful to have her. But the amount of money I spent doesn't reflect the amount I like her at all, because most of my dolls, again, are about the same. I do like her a lot more than, like, most of my dolls, just because she's so special with the representation of the character and such, but she's not $800 better, you know what I mean? And the biggest thing that's a side effect of this one, because this is the most expensive doll I have by far. The next closest, this one was a gift from my mom, but I have purchased one of these as well for $300. I bought her in a lot, but I itemized values when I made my offer, and I spent $300 on my boxed one of these that I have. That's the next closest in expense. So that's like an extreme difference. That's over double the most I've spent on a doll for this one, just to put that in perspective. That's how much I wanted this doll and how much I valued her. And I still do really, really love her, and I value her a lot more than other dolls in my collection. She's very, very special to me. But, you know, a side effect has been, I won't touch this doll. The fact that I'm holding her right now is something, because she has a little chair that I bought for her, and she doesn't leave the chair. She doesn't. I don't take her out for pictures. I don't do anything with this doll because I'm scared to touch her. I'm scared to break her. I'm scared to damage her. I'm scared to scratch paint. I'm scared to mess up the wig. I'm scared to mess up the outfit. Like, I will not touch this doll. And to me, the way I value dolls isn't, I mean, I do value them a lot as the art piece, but to me, dolls as an art piece are a very, like, mobile art piece. They're like a living art piece, you know. You can pose them, you can imbue character into them. They represent characters that are in motion. You take them out for pictures, you pose them on your shelves, you brush their hair, you know, you can do so much with a doll, and that's why I prefer them to figures. Like, I do not like statues. I love anime stuff, but I will not buy statues, generally. There's some that I will, but mostly I don't like statues. Because I want to play with it! I can't play with a statue. Like, that's one photo I can get, and then it's like, okay, sitting on the shelf. And I do like them on the shelf. I think they're cool and everything, but, like, I will always buy a doll or a action figure over a statue. And this doll is almost like a statue. I don't touch her because I'm scared to, because I can't replace her. And it's interesting though, because this doll would be extremely difficult for me to replace, but I'll still, like, I take her places. I took her to New York City with me. She was like shoved into my backpack that I had with me, my tiny little backpack, like this expensive, like, rare doll. These ones, I think she's limited to like 1,000, so these ones are actually, she's limited by a lot more than that actually, so this is actually the rarer doll. But, you know, like, I would not be able to replace this. I don't know how much this is limited to be honest. Like, correct me. I'll just correct myself. I'll Google it later. But my point is, like, because I spent so much more on this doll, I'm, like, scared of her. and I don't want to be. I wanted to, like, just go about the town with this doll, because I carry dolls, like, everywhere that I go, except school. I used to actually take them to school, but I don't really do that anymore, just because I don't want them getting messed up in my bag. That's the main reason, because then once a certain amount got messed up, I was like, we need to put our foot down. We're not bringing them to school anymore. But I like bringing my dolls places. That's, like, very exciting for me. So, but I can't do that with Homura. I can't sit her next to me on the metro, you know? So that's an example. So I value her very differently than the others. It's kind of similar to the prototypes at this point because I'm scared to touch her. I don't want to touch her. I don't want to hurt her. Queen Eleanor is here because she is one of the most expensive. Well, I have a rule about only spending retail, and I'll go a little bit above retail normally, but I spent around $400 on Queen Eleanor and Merida, but hear me out. Limited edition. It's not that limited edition is like a selling point to me. A doll being limited edition is annoying to me, like with rarity and value, because it means it's going to be harder to get. So I don't really care if it's limited, it's just kind of annoying. But, you know, when I'm shopping for a doll, I take it into account. So I'll spend more because it's limited. I'll spend more because it's worth more extrinsically, and I'll spend more because I have to. And the retail's much higher on these. So I spent $400 on these. I got them in an auction. I actually lost the auction the first time by like 20 cents, and I was so heartbroken. And then the buyer that beat me ended up not paying, so they went back up for auction, and I got them for cheaper that time. So I swear it was like $380 plus shipping that I won them for, and the first time they had ended for like closer to $500, so that was cool for me. But anyway, the reason I spent more is because, first of all, they're absolutely never going to make this character again. This is Merida's mom. I really wanted her because this doll is gorgeous. She reminds me of my mom. Like, I really wanted to have her. The lighting is not doing her justice right now. I'm sorry. Like, that's better. I really wanted this doll. She was one of the top of my wish list ones. With the Disney Ellies, I'll mostly wait for another to come out because they'll make another of most characters. But, like, the top of my wish list are ones that they probably won't. So, like, Pocahontas, I don't think they're going to make another one, unfortunately. They really need to. Elena, they're not going to make another one. The Disney fairies, I love Disney fairies. They're not going to make more of them. So that's like what my wish list looks like. It's generally, because otherwise I'm willing to wait until another one comes out at retail, because that's what I want to spend on them is retail. She wasn't going to happen again. I really wanted her. I wanted Merida too. I don't think they're going to make another Merida doll. If they do, it won't be in that cute blue dress that I really like. So to me, I consider this a huge win. I love them a lot. And I spent, you know, I actually got a fantastic price on them, because if we consider what today's retail would be on a 2-pack of dolls, it would be like $300, so I actually kind of, I scored here, you know? But, yeah. I don't really have a lot that I spent a lot of money on, so I have to bring them over, but this was like a great find and a great deal, and this was a triumph, even though she is one of the, get on camera girly, even though she was one of the more expensive dolls in my collection, like I consider her one of the best deals that I've gotten, because this set that she comes with is extremely limited edition. I don't remember the number, but it's very low. I think it's like 1,000, right? It's very, very low. And these dolls sell for, like, in their box will sell, sometimes they sell for like 500 and sometimes they sell for 1,000. It just depends on the day. Disney limited edition prices are very strange, but anyway. Yeah, I think I've exhausted my talking points. Hopefully this has construed correctly. My main point is just that the way that I value dolls is not necessarily related to the amount that they're worth, and if something, I mean, if I were to have to sit down and sell my doll collection, I think I would do a lot of other things before I sold my doll collection, to be honest. I'd be selling organs before I sold dolls, just because I know how hard they are to get a hold of, so it would be very annoying to replace them, and at the end of the day, I would want them back if I sold them. I would only sell dolls that I knew I could get back, and then it would be annoying, so I'd probably go with a kidney first, and I'm not exaggerating. I would probably sell a house first, like, I really like these. But anyway, they're very, for me, they're attached to memories and nostalgia, and very significant. Like, a lot of them are gifts, a lot of them are connected to certain people or certain experiences or like a cool day that I had, and that's a very important part of them, as well as like living art pieces or like living, you know, living things in my, I call them like living because they have more to them than just being like a photograph that I bought or like a painting that I bought or like a book. Like, I don't know, because for other people a photograph or a painting or a book will mean that much to them, but for me dolls are like, they mean so much. They're like living in terms of, I'm constantly making new memories with them, I'm constantly moving them around, I'm constantly enjoying them in different types of ways, and they're so like, they're so linked to who I am and what matters to me, that it would be really, really difficult to like get them out of my cold dead hands. In my will, when I write it, it's gonna say, like, it's gonna be very specific about the dolls. They're going to a museum, they're not going to any people, nobody can have them. Just, they're very special to me, and I want to keep them, like, I don't know how to explain it, but the intrinsic value of them is not monetarily related, but if I had to relate it to money, it's about the same for every doll. Every single Mycene doll is around $30 to me. Every single Bratz doll is around $20 to me. And Mycene's only worth slightly more because they're more nostalgic to me. Every single Barbie doll that I have is worth like $20 to me. Every single Disney Ellie is worth $100 to me. And it's just, and they're only like worth that much because I had to spend that much, you know, so I like relate them to that value, and if I had to sell them, I would probably try to go for, you know, the market price, but my point is that I don't really price them based on what they're like extrinsically worth. I price them based on what they're worth to me, and I think, I don't want to impose my opinion or be like, my opinion is right and you guys should go with mine, but I think it makes collecting a little bit easier and a little bit less stressful, and let me explain. If, for example, I'm just gonna, okay, Secret Date Never, I don't know how much this doll is worth, but I know that she's a more expensive one. Let's say she sells for $100 just like this. This is your most wanted doll, but to you, you don't want to spend $100, but you feel like you have to because she's selling for that much. And most people are feeling the same way as you. They're on the same boat. That's what causes the price to go up. So if everybody took a step back and said, you know what, I'm not willing to spend $100 on a out-of-box doll that retailed for $20. Like, I'm not willing to do that. The price goes down. So when you see ebbs and flows in prices, right now Bratz dolls are really expensive because there's a lot of bandwagon hoppers. There's a lot of like locals. As much as that word is interesting to me, but you know, like people who aren't like necessarily doll collectors and they're not in it for the long haul or anything, they're coming in while it's hot and they might get over it. And a lot of them won't, believe me. That's making new doll collectors, and that's awesome. But you know, there's a lot of like trend hoppers right now. Once the trend is dead and it's weird to collect Bratz dolls again, the prices are gonna go down. So, you know, God, I want to do a video on like not following trends, but using trends and other things as a way to price your dolls, or how to figure out when you should buy or sell your dolls. I wouldn't actually want to mention selling because I don't like when dolls are treated as like stock pieces. I don't know, not stock, like like investment pieces, because that's what makes collecting annoying for me. When people are like, oh, well, this doll is worth like $300, it's like, oh, but I don't want to spend $300. But anyway, I would kind of like to do one on how I choose when to buy dolls and when I'll spend more and stuff, kind of. I did kind of mention that already, like with Tecna, I knew that I wasn't going to get a better deal, so I did, but that mostly just takes experience, so I don't know how much I could get into that, but I could try to make that a video. Anyways, if everybody is willing to spend $100, then she's going to be worth $100, and then people will be willing to spend $150 to get her, and then people will be willing to spend $200, and it's going to climb. But if everybody thinks, like, oh, well, is she actually worth $100 to me? Like, is she worth what I could get for $100 with, like, you know, of food or of... Man, when you equate the amount of money you spend on dolls to food, it, like, really puts it into perspective. It's weird. You know, like, I'm like, ooh, this $60 game, I don't know if I can afford that. 3 Rainbow High dolls, though. It's kind of funny to think about, but sorry. I don't really know where to go with this. I'm just saying, like, I don't believe that every single person that buys a doll, like, if in our case study with Secret Date Nevra, everybody who spends $100 on Secret Date Nevra necessarily wanted her $100 worth. They just wanted her and they wanted to spend what the going rate was. But from what I've learned in my decade, ooh, that's weird to say. I've been collecting dolls for a decade. In my decade of collecting dolls, since 2011 I've been collecting them, I have found that even the most expensive dolls, mass market retail dolls, let me be clear, not ones like this, but I did get her for a great price, but even the most expensive of dolls you'll find for good prices. I have found so many grail pieces, so many wishlist pieces at the thrift store. I found so many dolls that were like really, really important that I really, really wanted in my collection in like used lots for like $10 each, you know, like if you wait and you play the long game and you really seek out good deals, you can get them for good deals. And it's a lot harder. It's hard for me to like, I collect so many different types of dolls that I'm finding good deals constantly because there's so many things that I'm looking at. But if you're only looking at Bratz dolls, it's going to be more tricky because you're looking at a more limited scope. But, you know, if you really search and you learn the different ways to search, which I've made videos on before if you're interested in those, but, you know, you learn the different ways to search, you put yourself out there, you go to flea markets, you go to thrift stores, stuff like that, you're going to have good deals. You're going to find good things. A lot of Bratz collectors, when they first start, and me included, will watch YouTube channels like Banana's Mom, or that's the username of the YouTube channel, right? Well, I love those videos, but I can't remember the username, because I think it might have changed. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about if you're a Bratz person. And you'll see those videos, and you'll see them go to the flea market and get these incredible deals, and these incredible dolls, and these rare, valuable, and like amazing dolls in their collection. And you'll sit back and be like, they're so lucky, like I will never be able to find those dolls, oh my gosh. The only reason they're able to get those good deals is because they put themselves out there. They go to the flea market at every opportunity. They go to every single place that they can to try to maximize the amount of stuff. I know that they have connections with these flea market vendors. Like, they know what they're doing. They know where to look, and that's why they're getting so many good prices. They're looking online constantly. They have connections in terms of like the secondhand market. They are putting themselves out there more, and the more you put yourself out there, the more chances you're going to have to find something. For me, finding good deals, when I go to the thrift store every single week, I find something amazing multiple times a month. Like, I find something really, really cool, and you guys can see that on my channel. I record when I go to the thrift store. When I go to the flea market, I went to the flea market for the first time, I found so many cool, rare, expensive, awesome things for good prices, and I didn't buy everything that I found, but, you know, I found, like, new in-box movie Barbies for cheap. I found a new in-box Monster High doll for $5. Like, I found so many things that were amazing, and that's because I put myself in that situation. But then I didn't go back to the, well, I went to that flea market like 2 weeks later, and there was nothing new, and it was like a flop for me. But, you know, like, that's gonna happen too. But if you continue to put yourself out there and you continue to work on it, you can get like really good deals on your dolls. So I don't want it to be discouraging that I say like, oh, I'm just really lucky and I find great deals, because being lucky isn't about just, it is about being in the right place at the right time. But if you want to be lucky and you don't want it to just happen for you once, put yourself out there, search for stuff, find things. The more you search Bratz on eBay, newly listed or ending soonest, the more likely you are to find a good deal. If you do it once a month, you might find a good deal occasionally, but you're mostly not going to. When I started actively searching for this doll, I immediately found a good deal. I found her for $500. I missed it, but I found a good deal immediately when I started searching. It wasn't like immediate, but you know, within a couple of months, this extremely limited edition, rare, expensive doll from a country that I don't live in or speak the language of, I found her. So it's just about putting yourself out there, and this isn't really related to the video, to be honest, but my point is, like, if you want expensive dolls in your collection in terms of how much they're worth to other people, and you don't want to spend the prices that they're worth to other people, you need to put yourself out there and you need to work on it. I'm going to end this video here because this has been very long and I feel like I've hit all the bases that I want to. If you have questions or you need me to, like, you know, like, clarify something, I'm happy to, and I'm so sorry that this, I don't know, I've tried to film this video 3 times. It's, well, more than 3. I've done the intro like 17 times. I'm feeling really sick right now. So I just hope this video came out correctly. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and your takes and how you feel, especially if you feel differently than me. I'd love to know, you know, why. I would love to know that, because it's fun. This is just my channel, so I can only really speak on myself. And if anyone wants to, like, guest star, we can speak on them too, but I don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching for all this time. Bye!